Welcome to the New World Order Showcase Podcast. Your host, Jill Hart, the Coach's Alchemist. Couldn't be more excited to have you join us today. On this podcast, we celebrate the champions of change, the up-and-coming life, health and transformational coaches who are fearlessly stepping forward to make a difference in the world. Get ready for inspiring stories, practical tips, and powerful moments that will motivate you to make a positive change in your life and those around you. We're happy to have you join us on this incredible journey as we dive into the world of life, health, and transformational coaches who are lighting up the path towards a better tomorrow.
Welcome to the New World Order Showcase Podcast. Today we're speaking with Kevin A Dunlap, and he is from the Optimal Performance Academy. His goal is to get 1,000 entrepreneurs to six figures. So welcome, Kevin. I'm really excited to have you here to share about all the great things that you're doing. And I am curious why you have the A in your name, because I know that there are other Kevin Dunlaps out there. Is that why you're doing it?
The reason I use my middle initial, because there's going to be people out there, if you don't use their middle initial, you won't know who they are. Like, do you know Michael Fox? No. You know Michael J. Fox? Oh, I know him. Or Samuel Jackson. That's probably a bit more popular, but Samuel L. Jackson. So that's to distinguish me from other people. And I'm an author as well, so all four of my books I use my middle initial, and then I'm also used to do stuff with film and stage, mainly with film. So I am a Kevin Dunlap on IMDb, the International Movie Database, but there's now 3 Kevin Dunlaps on there, so it just helps to distinguish me from the other people out there.
I totally can relate to that. There are a lot of Jill Harts. I've run into a lot of Jill Harts. I know them personally. It's like, okay, well, I'll just be Jill E. Hart. Makes it easier.
The funny thing is, a year or so ago, somebody says, "Hey, there's this book written by Kevin Dunlap that basically did our whole family tree." I go, I don't remember that. Couldn't have found out he's my cousin. So there is another Kevin Dunlap in my family that's a little bit younger than me, and he's also was an ex-politician for the state of Tennessee. So
that's really interesting. So how did you get started in the Optimal Performance Academy? What's your story? Tell us about you.
Well, my story, it all began a long time ago. Actually, it did. When I actually used to have a corporate America job where I was working full time for corporate America. And I was a computer programmer at that time. I was working on this project. Some of you may remember what this is, some of you may not. It was a project that was known as Y2K. So that was a long time ago. That was back in 1999. That's 20 plus years ago.
Just yesterday, though, doesn't it?
So some of you listeners were like, why'd you haven't thought of that in 20 years? But the thing is, after I got downsized, I realized back then that there was no security and a job. So I did work a couple of little part-time odd jobs, and then I actually became a full-time entrepreneur in early 2004 when I moved from, at that time, Wilmington, North Carolina to Las Vegas, Nevada. And I started running a real estate consultation business. And I did that for quite a few years until I got my license like 8 years later. And then I was doing the consultation business and working as a realtor until early 2020 when I left that before COVID hit. And I left that to work for a federal job, for a short-term federal job. And that's when COVID hit. And after that was over, I started thinking, like, I am no longer in real estate. The federal job is now over. What do I want to do now? So in 2021, remember at that time, COVID was still heavy there. So a lot of things are still closed. So in early 2021, I wrote my 4th book, which is called Launch, the A to Z in Creating a Successful Business. And that was basically to bring together 10 years of experience of seminars that I've been to, life experiences that I've gone through, both through personal development as well as business development. And then when I decided, after my father passed away, and later in 2021, I decided to move to Raleigh, North Carolina, where I lived back in 99. And that's when I decided to form Optimal Performance Academy. Like I was going to take all the 20 plus years that I have experience, and then also just start getting into where I'm coaching other people, I'm training other entrepreneurs. Because one of the things I learned back when I was as a realtor, there's a lot of new realtors that have no idea what they're doing. Meaning they may know something about real estate and real estate contracts, but they don't know anything about running a business. And I realized that there's a lot of new people out there they're in the pre-startup phase, they're in the startup phase. Maybe they're working part-time, they're a couple of years in, maybe they're in network marketing, maybe they're doing whatever, but they don't really know what they need to know about running a business. So basically, you could say they don't know what they don't know. And I formed Performance Academy based upon that. One of the part-time jobs that I did back in the early 2000s was I was a college math teacher, and I ended up loving teaching people, giving knowledge to other people, seeing them actually not only starting to comprehend what I was being taught, but they start utilizing it in their own lives. Even something as simple as learning what the quadratic formula is, or learning anything like that. And that was the whole reason I created the academy, or the Optimal Performance Academy. It's a school, and the school is we have group coaching, we have solo coaching, we have online courses that we do. We also do webinars. I have a training that happens on most Tuesdays. I also put together workshops, 1-day workshops and 3-day master classes. So I'm trying to give out all the knowledge that I've developed over the 20 plus years and try to impart that into the minds of the people who could be students of ours.
That's really fascinating. So most of your clients would come from what? Tell me who your ideal client is.
My ideal client, and I call it my specific audience, but the avatar ideal client, you call it whatever you want. And so my ideal client is actually multifold. I typically work with solopreneurs, or what I also call a bipreneur. And a bipreneur is when two people are coming together to form a company. It could be husband, wife, could be two best friends, whatever. And essentially, they are going to be people that are going to be the IP business, the intellectual property business. So they're going to be like other coaches, like a life coach, another business coach, a health coach. They could be a trainer of some sort, or they're also going to be something what I call as an industry expert. So those could be people like another realtor, because I was in real estate for so many years. They could be mortgage lenders. They could be yoga instructors. So people that may have their own service that they're also providing. So those are the types of people I typically work with. If you're a larger business, like 3, 4, or 5 people, I would usually refer that out. If we're not able to help, I would actually refer that out, because that is not who I'm actually working with.
So what kinds of things do you help them get set up? Because starting a business, there's so much.
If they're in the pre-startup phase or the startup phase, or even in their first year, then it's going to be, what areas are they lacking? I mean, because we do an audit as to where they are right now and where they want to be, and then we've got to figure out that game plan and how to get them to that location. So, it could be something as simple as, should I be an LLC, C Corp, or S Corp? And even though I'm not an attorney or a CPA, you definitely need to form some kind of an entity. You need to get away from being a sole proprietor or a general partnership, because you have no legal protection there, and you have the worst tax advantages for doing those kinds of organizations. So it all depends on where they are right now. It could be also, if they're more advanced, it could be, okay, now you've hit this one threshold of income. Maybe you're making $50,000, maybe $75,000 a year. How can we double your income or increase it by another 50%? And that could be things like, let's start training you to become a public speaker. Let's hone up your signature talks, so that you can actually start being in front of more people and attracting more business to you. So it all depends on where they are right now.
So you do a lot of one-on-one coaching, sort of, or is it?
We do one-on-one coaching. Well, at the time of this recording of this call, we actually have 3 different levels of group coaching, and then the solo coaching could be tailor-made to one of those. So our introductory level, we call it the Business Kickstarter Basic, And that is going to be for people who are essentially just getting started. We'll go through, identify who is your ideal client. So you stop wasting that time going after the wrong people. Because one of the worst things, if I'm talking about that topic, one of the worst things that somebody can say is, my ideal client is everybody. Yeah, he ends up not. Yeah, so you have to get a lot more specific. Because if your ideal client is a 40-year-old male, you most likely are not going to be advertising in a women's magazine. That's not where your ideal client lies. So you have to get very specific in that regard. Who is that ideal client? As going by the questions you asked me at the very beginning.
Yeah, and if you don't get real clear on who you're serving, then you're not going to end up serving anybody. Be able to find you. So
Exactly, because you won't be you won't be on the right platforms. You won't be using the right verbiage. You'll be talking to like you're talking to an 18-year-old when you're focusing on a 70-year-old. You have to be very, very clear on who your ideal client or ideal clients, if you have more than one, which is perfectly fine. But you have different advertising and marketing campaigns to those different ideal clients.
That. It seems like it's a simple no-brainer, but it's really pretty fundamental.
Well,
but
here's the funny thing:
how many people don't do it.
Well, I mean, one of the funny things is I would go up to a new realtor and say, "Who's your ideal client?" Oh, somebody wants to buy and sell a house. I go, "Okay, every realtor says that. What makes you special?"
Yeah, and working with realtors, I was a realtor in my other life. I had a lot of other lives.
Well, I have a very varied background myself, so that makes me kind of unique.
Yeah, but the real estate, when I was just starting out in real estate, I think I was in my early 30s. I didn't know anything about anything. And selling, man, I had no idea about selling. And I was the number one listing agent in my office because I was really good at helping people list their houses, because that was fun to me. But taking people around, and it was before the days of the internet where you could just, have your clients go look at the houses online and see if they thought they might want to go see it in real life. Back in the day, we used to have to go on those little caravans and go look at all the open houses and remember and make lots of notes. And then when clients came along, you'd have to remember where that place was. And it was in San Diego. So, everything was all twisty-turny and Thomas Brothers maps.
So I the day back when they were using the MLS books, like when they actually had a printed book.
Yeah, the printed book. That was when I was doing real estate.
Wow. Luckily, I was in the online world. So when I was doing my real estate consultation, even though that was early days of the internet, and I built a very strong online presence, a high SEO presence, just because I started shooting video. This is back in 2009. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, when I became a realtor in 2012, then we had the MLS, we had Zillow, we had Redfin was just being developed. Oh yeah.
It's amazing how the computer and the internet has really changed the economic landscape and how things are done. It's really pretty fascinating. It's opened up so many opportunities for people. And I love what you're doing. It's really helpful for new people getting into entrepreneurship, and there are more people realizing that, hey, I've got a purpose and I need to be living that life, not locked in some cubicle 8, 10, 12 hours a day doing mindless work that really doesn't benefit anybody, except maybe some people at the very top. they might disagree with me, but so yeah, that's really, really great that you're working along that path and helping people get started. So what's your book about?
I'm sorry?
What's your book about? How does your book play into
my fourth book is a book and a workbook. It's a fairly thick book. I think it's 449 pages. So it's not just something that you just read in a day. But the book was developed to take people along the journey of starting a business to actually the last chapter, last two chapters, all about how do you duplicate yourself, how do you sell your business, or how do you create franchises and stuff like that. But it was a book and a workbook, and it goes through a lot of the nuances of things that you need to learn how to do. I believe chapter 10 is on how to write your business plan. There's going to be chapters on a whole bunch of other subjects. And that actually became the template of me forming Optimal Performance Academy. When I wrote that book, ideally it was going to be a 3-day a masterclass. It's going to be a 3-day weekend class. That was my idea when I wrote the book. Had no idea that it would turn into writing a large number of courses. I have a lot of other, especially to be parts of different, because I have 3 different levels of group coaching, and parts of the book are in all 3 parts of those group coaching. So that book was kind of like the catalyst that inspired the entire company.
That's exciting. So what are the other 2 levels? I know you said the basic kickstart was the first level, but what were the other 2?
The business Kickstarter basic, the 9-week class, that's mainly going to be for newer businesses. The second level is what I call Business Kickstarter Prime. They all mention more Business Kickstarter as the first 2 words. So Business Kickstarter Prime is for those businesses that's been around for a couple of years. Maybe now they want to start doing webinars and creating their online presence. That's what that one is going to be working a lot around. And then the higher level one, that one is a 12-week class. The highest level one is called Business Kickstarter Elite. It's a 16-week class. And that's going to be getting into creating your online courses, also to create your signature talk, structuring your signature talk, how to start being on stages. So that's going to be for more the little more advanced people. Those are the ones that when we talked about before the call, you mentioned like one of my goals one of my first business goals is to take 1,000 people and make them into 6-figure earners. So the business sort of elite is more based upon for those people, because so unless you hit a fluke, unless you're a fluke, your first year in business is usually as a solopreneur or bipreneur is probably not going to be 6 figures. So that's something that you're going to be growing into. The business sort of elite is actually designed for those people to take them to that 6-figure level.
That sounds like you've got them all kind of mapped out in a logical format in terms of moving somebody along from I'm just thinking about it to okay, this is the first step, and then we can move into the second step, and people can see kind of, does everybody start at the very basic level? Do they come in the middle? Can they come in at the end?
It depends on It depends on where they are. Now, the 3 group coaching is designed to have somebody go through all 3. You're not. I don't expect everybody to do that. And also, if I run across somebody, after we do our strategy sessions with each other, and we see where you are in your business, you may actually start off with a prime or the elite. You don't have to go through the basic. I do have some material that does overlap. That's actually deliberate. It's because if you didn't take the earlier class, this is stuff that you need to know. Plus, for the people that have already taken the class and they're not seeing something familiar, like, oh, they see how these things are interconnected. So, like, if you ever read any book, like say Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, I would guarantee you that out of his 15 or 20 books, that there's overlap in those books. There's going to be talking about the same thing. So that's why. So the overlap is actually deliberate. And
it helps to have a foundation. Like, everybody knows about Rich Dad Poor Dad, and then his other books. they do all go back to his quadrant theory or formula, and he just builds on it. And I think any good business does have some sort of a foundation. And if you don't have that foundation, then your clients get confused, and then you're not really doing what you need to do. So
and the foundation does have to build on itself. So like let's say if you're talking about a high rise, the business Kickstarter basic is the first level, maybe the first 2 levels. The prime is going to be maybe taking it to the 4th or 5th level, and then the elite is taking it to a 10-story building and going from there.
Right. That makes perfect sense. So is there one thing that you'd like our audience to take away from our conversation today?
Well, one of the things I would always say is to always be open, to be adaptable, because if you don't adapt and try to do things a different way, you can keep getting the same results that you have been getting. So you have to be adaptable. You can also say you have to be teachable. So when you see something that is not working, you have to be willing to get rid of that and do something different.
Yeah, and sometimes adjusting to change and being open to having coaching is it's the thing you need, but most people might resist it. It's like, it's just part of the education process, and we're all learning. So how do people
Well,
get?
Go
ahead.
One of my first coaches was actually a Rich Dad coach, and he's the one that inspired me to move from North Carolina to Las Vegas back in, well, the coaching was in 2003. I moved there in January of 2004. So that was a life-changing event for me. And I hold that as one of the best things that's ever happened to me.
I've had lots of coaches in my life too, and they all have moved me in some way or another to becoming the person I am today and being where I am. So I really value coaches a lot. I think they're the education medium of the future, where colleges were really well regarded years ago. It's not the case anymore. You need to just find the education around what it is that you want to be doing and invest your money that way, rather than just getting a general education that's out of date. In a lot of places, it's just like technology is changing the education landscape so fast that it's really hard for colleges to keep up with their curriculum to the changing environment.
And that's the thing is, if you're going to be going to coaching, it's like taking that course in college. You're getting somebody there, that instructor, professor, or teacher is there to impart their knowledge to you. A coach is there the same way. You just call them a different name.
Yeah, it's shortening the learning curve. You're paying to shorten the gap between where you are and where you want to go, because you're paying somebody for their expertise, and they've paid other people for their information. It's just a way to transfer information around, and most things in life are transactional. Otherwise, we're all going to be living on the street. Speaking of that, how can people get a hold of you, Kevin?
Well, the best way is to actually just visit our website, and that website is www, obviously, optimalperformanceacademy.org. So again, that's optimalperformanceacademy.org. And on the website, on the front page, because our website is very dynamic, we're constantly improving upon it. But on the first page, on the home page, you will see a lot of different things that we can do. We have on there essentially how to create a 30 or 60-minute strategy session with us, a complimentary strategy session with us on the front page. Also, some of our courses are on there. So basically everything we do, it can be actually looked at from the front page, and then you can dive more deeply into the page by going through the menu at the top and looking with areas that you're interested in. Like, are you looking for online training? Are you looking for coaching? We have a whole bunch of different workshops and this stuff coming up that's going to be on our calendar of events. So all of our stuff is on there. So that's probably the best way to get a hold of me.
Perfect. And I would encourage people that are just getting started out there to go and visit your website. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another empowering episode of the U World Order Showcase podcast. We hope you've enjoyed hearing from our incredible life, health, and transformational coaches who are making a profound impact on the world. Remember, change begins with you, and you have the power to transform your life and the lives of others. If you want to take that next step and unlock your true potential, visit thecoachesalchemist.com, where you can find the 3 ways we can help you for free to spin your talent into gold with clarity, a system, and a plan. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an inspiring episode. And if you enjoyed today's show, we'd greatly appreciate it if you could leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback means the world to us and helps us reach more people with our positive message. Stay connected with us on social media for updates, behind-the-scenes content, and upcoming guest announcements. You can find us on Facebook at the U World Order or simply visit thecoachesalchemist.com.